We're going to talk about a piece of training equipment. If you're not using it yet, you should be. I know you've seen it. It's the battle rope. And what's nice about the battle rope, it really addresses the two fundamental facets of our training. We've got resistance training that it addresses and fatigue management. So strength and conditioning, we like to think in terms of the ability to exert strength over a duration of time. And this is a very good training tool that allows us to do that. Now, there are two primary ropes that you see on the market, and that is the manila fiber or natural fiber and then the synthetics. They each have some advantages. I think the synthetics win out. The manila ropes are great because once you get them, they're very flexible. They're already broken and you can get right to work with them. Manila ropes are also very heavy, so they provide a lot of resistance to work against. The downside of the manila ropes are twofold. Basically, you've got a cleanup issue because as soon as you take a natural fiber rope and you start slamming against the floor repeatedly, you are going to see manila rope fibers all over the floor. They're hard to sweep up. They get into everything. But more of an issue than cleanup is actually what can happen to your hands. When you're using these things and you're really bearing down, it's very common to get manila rope splinters in your hands. Very distracting. They can be a real pain to remove. So to dispense with that, Tidal has an excellent rope. It's a synthetic rope, and that solves both problems, and it also solves one other problem. It's great to be able to take your training outdoors. Sometimes you have to train outdoors. You need a synthetic rope to do that. If you take a natural fiber rope outdoors, it gets wet, it has a tendency to mildew, and that really accelerates the process by which it deteriorates. These ropes are basically indestructible. They get wet, nothing is a problem. The abrasion factor, not quite a problem as well. The other thing that you'll see when you're in the market for ropes is they come in two common diameters. The first one is like this, and this is very common. It's 1.5 inches in diameter. It's most comfortable for most people. Younger users, females have smaller hands, do very well with the 1.5 inch diameter. The 2-inch diameter affords you two key advantages. The first off is it's thick. So anytime you're grabbing a barbell with a thick handle dumbbell, or a rope that's thicker in diameter, the fact that you have less surface, you really have to concentrate on getting a good grip. Over time, what that does, that improves your grip strength. That's important for the combat athlete in particular. Anytime you put your hands on somebody, you want them to experience fear. You want them to really know that somebody with a lot of strength and power has got a hold of them. Conversely, for your striking arts, you need to be able to articulate force out of the body and express it down to the last link of that kinetic chain. The stronger your wrists are, the stronger your hands are, the more impact you'll be able to deliver when you throw strikes, the more impact you'll be able to absorb when hitting someone or even working out on the heavy bag. So the more that we can strengthen up this last link of the chain, we're really doing good things for fighting effectiveness. Now, what we're going to do is show you a variety of drills that show you how to incorporate the rope into your training. It's very simple, it's very intuitive. Most people also really enjoy it, so stay with us. I think you're going to like what you see. The first battle rope drill we're going to do is alternating waves. This is a really easy way to kind of get introduced to rope training. It's a very intuitive, natural type of motion. It's very easy to sort of have your body pick up, because as one side of the body is in motion, the other side can stabilize it, act as a counterbalance. The other side of the body is in motion. It's the same thing. It's not unlike the weight shifting that takes place when you're throwing a punch. So what Ryan's going to do is he's going to take up the ends. He's going to get the appropriate amount of slack for this particular drill. So he's going to need a little bit. He's standing in a comfortable athletic position. Feet are shoulder width apart, knees a little bit bent, and he's ready to go. Before we get too deep into the various battle rope drills, I want to make sure that you understand an important distinction. We show you these drills at what I like to call instructional speed. We want you to be able to see everything. We want you to be able to hear all of the information associated with the drills, so you really understand why you're doing them and why they're effective for your training regimen. So we show you these drills at what I refer to as instructional speed. Instructional speed looks like this. This is the speed that we used when we first showed you the alternating wave pattern. Now, instructional speed is different from actual training speed. Training speed, everything is going full bore, and Ryan's going to be completely amped up. This is training speed. The next battle rope drill is really the next step up, or the next evolution of what we just did with the alternating waves. In this case, we're still going to be performing the same wave pattern. What we're going to be doing them in unison. Both arms are going to be moving at the same time. You're going to see the same waves traveling at the same time down the rope to the post. A lot more midline stabilization is taking place here, so it's really good for helping to stabilize the trunk while your arms are in motion. So Ryan's going to take up his position. He's going to check his body posture relative to the ropes. He's going to check the ropes. He's going to make sure he's got the requisite amount of tension that he needs, and then he's going to get started. This next battle rope drill is another unison wave pattern. This one's a little different because we're going to be kind of coming at things at an angle from the side. So this is a diagonal unison wave pattern. You'll see that when Ryan starts, he's going to start on the right side, and then I'm going to have him transition over to the left side. Anytime we're working side to side, you have to remember to train both sides of the body in an equivalent fashion. So Ryan's going to take up his ropes, he's going to check his position, make sure he's got the amount of slack that he needs, make sure that his body is positioned correctly, he's balanced, he's strong, and he's ready to rock. So this is what it looks like on the right side. And then switching it over to the left side. This next battle rope drill variation, we're going to introduce the idea of multitasking. It's going to do two things for us. It makes the drill a little more cognitively complex. You really have to think about what you're doing. Additionally, this variation is a lot more challenging physically. You're going to generate a lot more fatigue while doing it. And simply what we're going to do is Ryan's going to perform an alternating wave pattern such as you've already seen, but we're going to add in squats. So he's basically going to be waving and performing a body weight squat at the same time. Now, just basics. Keep your back flat, head over hips, stay heavy on your heels, squat straight down, come back up, and try not to fall over because it's a little challenging and to see that the rope wants to pull you forward at times. And it looks like this. Ryan's going to get back on his ropes, he's going to check his tension, maybe take a slightly wider than normal stance, whatever stance Ryan is comfortable in performing squats in, and he's going to get the drill started. This next variation of battle rope drills, we're going to take that squat variation, we're going to amp it up just a little bit. What's going to happen is Ryan's going to perform alternating waves, he's going to do squats, but these are jumping squats. Now when you hear the phrase jumping squats, I don't want you to get all wrapped up into thinking that you're worried about getting a lot of altitude. These are not plyos or not anything like that. When you do these, I only want you to think about coming up off the floor about 1 inch, just enough so that you're in the air. Having to process that task at the same time that you're keeping those waves going is actually a lot more challenging than it might sound. So Ryan's going to take up his position on the ropes. He's going to do everything that we've already covered. He's going to check his tension, check his grip. He's going to check his position. He's going to get the wave pattern going first. He's going to descend down into his squat. He's going to come up, but he's going to come up off the floor and perform that for a few reps so you can see what that looks like. This next drill takes us into a position where we're basically going to be positioned perpendicular to the ropes. What's nice about this drill is that as you perform it, you really have to brace one side of your body while you're doing work. And of course, while you're doing any type of one-sided variation, you need to make sure that you train the other side of the body on an equivalent basis. And this is also a variation where most people find it simpler to go ahead and grab an underhand grip. Hold the hands together to get this pattern started. So Ryan's going to go over, he's going to get his position, and you'll notice that he's going to face away from the camera to train the one side, and then we'll flip around the other. So he's going to check his position, he's comfortable, he's balanced, he's ready to go, and he's going to start off by getting the pattern going. And you see the waves travel down the rope. It's a little bit awkward, but he's got a pretty good pattern going. So he's going to stop, and he's going to flip around, and this is what it looks like to train the other side. This next battle rope variation is going to look a little bit simpler than the ones we performed before, but most people actually find it a little more difficult to pull off. We're only going to be training one side of the body. You can call this a unilateral wave or a single rope wave. So what Ryan's going to do is he's going to take his position, he's going to start off with his right hand, and he's simply going to take his left hand out of the equation. He's going to not use it for balance, he's just going to get it out of the way behind his back, and he's going to perform a single wave. One-handed, it looks like this. And because we're only training one side of the body, we have to make sure that we train the other side in the same fashion. So he just switches it over, and it looks like that. Now this next battle rope drill is really not a new drill, it's a variation to the one that we just covered, which is the single side of the unilateral rope wave. But what we're going to do is we're going to kind of amp up that exercise by introducing something that I refer to as asymmetric loading. We're going to take one side of the body, we're going to introduce a load. In this case it's going to be a kettlebell, so watch as Ryan takes up rope in one hand and a kettlebell in the other. So what's going to happen is as he performs his rope waves, he's going to have to concentrate on holding his body very tight so he doesn't dip down. We don't want to dip and tilt that vertical axis of the spine while he performs the exercise, and a couple of reps looks like this. And of course, you're really limited by your imagination in the tools that you have on hand. So we can also work with load displacement or putting it in simply another position. So if he presses it overhead and holds it, he's got to make sure that he braces all the way from the shoulder girdle all the way down to the ground as he performs his waves. This next variation of drills is really the simplest to perform. There's the least amount going on. It's not complicated. It looks fundamentally different, and it has a fundamentally different purpose to it. This is really less about conditioning. This is more of a pure resistance exercise. In this case, we're simply using the rope to provide that resistance. This drill is called power slams, and what we're trying to do is pick up as much of the rope as possible with each repetition, and then we are driving it forcefully to the floor, thinking through the floor if possible. As much rope in the air as you can and then bringing it down as hard as you can. Basically what we're trying to do is train you to deliver maximum impact, bringing all of your power from your body, driving it through so that you can deliver that force forward, articulating that force out of the hands. This is the last link in your kinetic chain when you're throwing punches. This is a very safe, effective way to train that. Train it at high velocity, but in a way that's not injurious to the joints. You're not hyperextending anything. And actually, this is a lot of fun. A lot of people like to put this particular variation towards the end of the workout so they can just leave everything out, let it all hang out there. So what you're going to see Ryan do is he's going to approach the rope. He's going to get a good strong grip. A good strong grip on this one is important. He's going to make sure that he's balanced and strong, and he's going to try to slam that rope right to the floor. This next battle rope variation involves an elevation change. I particularly like it for grapplers, MMA fighters, anyone who has to get comfortable transitioning smoothly from a standing to a position down on the floor. And this also gives you something that you have to be thinking about while you're doing those things. You need to keep that wave pattern going. So what you're going to see happening is Ryan's going to start off, first he's going to establish his pattern. Then he's going to take one knee. Pattern is still continuous. Take the other knee. He'll keep it going while he's kneeling both knees. Now when you come back up on the opposite leg and then return to a standing position. All the while, Ryan has to keep this alternate wave pattern constant and flowing. So it's going to look like this. Ryan's going to get his ropes. Now some people need to adjust their foot placement for this. Some people are more comfortable a little narrower stance, a little wider stance. However you need to position yourself so that you can smoothly take that knee, get down to that kneeling position, and smoothly return to a standing position. And it's going to look like this.